Right now, it's time to bring in Jim Lynch, cover your assets. Jim is an independent voice on Wall Street, the economy, and politics. He brings well over 40 years of experience to those subjects and more, and we welcome him in on a Tuesday morning. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I predicted the outcome of the NCAA tournament game, and Alabama crushed Ohio State. As a matter of fact, Alabama could probably beat half the NFL teams.
Ain't that the truth?
Really unbelievable. But anyway, so congratulations to the Crimson Tide. Roll Tide as they move on.
Yeah. He has more championships college-wise than any other coach. So
anybody that makes Bear Bryant's record not look significant is amazing. He's won the national title 7 out of the last 14 years.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
That's a run like UCLA had and the UConn women have had. I mean, it's just when you stack up those numbers for that long, it's amazing. So anyway, well,
maybe he'd like to give a shot to the Mets.
Well,
we could use some help.
They're trying.
Anyhow, before we get more serious, hats off to the Cleveland Browns. First time they in the playoffs in 26 years, and also a little accolade to Tom Brady, who withstood the Tide rushing against him, and he's going to be in the playoffs as well. So
42 years of age, and he's thrown he's thrown 40 touchdown passes this year. And how about Drew Brees? Drew Brees, I think, is 43 years old, and to see athletes compete at that level at that age with the young Turks that are out there now is truly a testament to those two athletes.
Incredible. Yeah. And a little ad for Brees. 11 fractures he came back from in the ribs. Yeah. I mean, talk about a strong guy, but a gutsy guy.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. All right, well, we have to speak about amazing. We have to go back to what happened in our country last week. And, folks, you have to understand what we're going to talk about here, and I'm going to say this up front, is not an assault on the Republican Party or Republican individuals. Okay, what we're going to talk about is one person and how one person who happens to be the President of the United States can hold a rally, and if ever the phrase words mean something when they come from a president or a leader of a country, it has been echoed now for the past week, and that is the events that happened in Washington, D.C.
Yes, and Trump's penchant for cruelty just continues. He basically gave up as he was voted out of office on the 3rd of November, long time away, and he gave up on doing anything in the pandemic. Working with Congress to get money for people who desperately need it. He just gave up, and he, in a strange way, he became more ineffective in trying to overturn the election, as I think he lost 50 lawsuits in the various courts, many of the judges of whom were Republican appointees or he had appointed. It's a sad day that we've had to go through, and I frankly, so many people I know feel in a way personally hurt, not by Trump, but by the idea that this great country of ours has been subjected and in process has suggested us to this terrible, incredible, inhuman behavior. It's just beyond the pale. I do think, though, that we have to address something. President Trump will no longer be president. He'll be gone. Basically, I think he's banned from Twitter for life. I don't know that to be true. But I do know that the Deutsche Bank, who's been his main bank, they've written him off. He's out. He's no longer a client, even though he owes them $340 million. And Signature Bank, a smaller operation, They told him, you're out. A number of corporations now have talked to the people who run their PACs. We're talking large companies, large, small, whatever, and they're not going to. They're taking a very, very hard look at those people in the Congress of the United States who basically helped create this environment where Trump's speech and Giuliani and Fredo, they basically ignited the fire on Wednesday. But when the Republicans decided to question the states, which had already proven to courts that the votes were legal, that made them, in my opinion, complicit. And already people are talking about the 14th Amendment, and the 14th Amendment says that if you do anything to incite against our government, the U.S. government, you're out, and that means you could be thrown out of the Congress or the Senate. So there's going to be a lot more happening. I hope we can all just try and take several deep breaths and sit back and try and assess the information in terms of what really happened. It does appear that some people had inside information in terms of where they were going to go in the Congress and in the Senate. We know now that we have a lot of people who came from elsewhere in the country. There's a rumor that some police people were involved, and on it goes. It gets very, very difficult, but it's like the dam is broken, and hopefully the water will run dry soon, and we can get back to real business, which is the business of health in this country. Biden has said that he's going to get all the vaccines out as soon as possible. And now apparently Azar of the Republican fellow in the COVID committee, he's talking about doing something differently as well to try and speed up the vaccines. On a positive note, out in California, Disneyland and Dodger Stadium have been opened as places where everybody can go and get vaccinated. This is something that was done in Europe, where they utilize some of their fields, which enables mass vaccinations to take place very, very quickly. So let's put our hopes on that and our good feelings on that. We got to go with the good here, but we got to basically stay awake. And finally, for this segment, this few sentences, I have to tell you, we do have a mental problem in this country. Not everybody, but it's a mental problem that the Germans had in the 20s, and it's called a cult of personality, where somebody else has convinced so many millions of Americans of lies, and those people have believed it. The lies were terrible, but the idea that the people have bought it, and they've really bought it. They bought it after every crime or indiscretion that President Trump has done, and so I don't know how we're going to deal with that. But I think we got to become much more concerned than we've been in terms of falling back on. Well, you got to let them express themselves and they're patriots. That's BS. You're a patriot up until the time you try and kill somebody. Then you're not a patriot. You're an enemy. You're an enemy of the public. And lastly, well, I guess I could go on lastly forever. I'm amazed that the Capitol Police, when those people started coming up the steps and they were outnumbered, they didn't start shooting. And I think if they had dropped 20, 30 of these nuts, that might have been it. Blood has a way of really stabilizing the situation. And I don't mean to talk that way. It's be my last comment like that. But God Almighty, I and my brothers and father served in the country, in the military. My grandfather ran the city patrol during the Second World War, helped to get people to put their lights out. So this is my country. I'm hurt. I'm insulted. But trust me, I'll be fighting in whatever I can, in whatever way I can, with greater energy.
All right, I want to insert something in here, and this was released about 10 minutes ago. Sheldon Adelson died. Of course, Sheldon, a Republican kingmaker, a casino magnate, he died at the age of 87. I just wanted to get that in here while we were talking because that is a pretty big news story. But Jim, getting beyond the attack on the Capitol, and I'm not going to call it a riot. I'm going to call it an attack on the Capitol. Getting beyond the attack on the Capitol and the way it affected business. First thing I want to talk about is people are surprised that major corporations are coming out now who supported Donald Trump and asking him to resign. And people are calling them part of the deep state. It's not part of the deep state. All you folks that are so proud about the stock market going up and stuff, major corporations need to make money. Major corporations like one thing: stability. And there's no Democrat, Republican, Independent. They want stability, and the people they think that can give them stability to do what they need to do are the ones that they're going to go to every time. It's not a deep state issue.
Absolutely. And thankfully, we have this brand of capitalism which knows that if capitalism is going to succeed, it needs stability. We've seen it in this pandemic, and we've seen it at other times when people are concerned and upset. They don't do the same things they used to in terms of purchasing things, working extra hours, saving money. It all goes up in flames. So I'm very thankful that those corporations have come out and continue to come out, and maybe in their own way, not just giving money, try to become more proactive. Now, Bill Gates is retired, but the man has taken on another job, helping the American people. Warren Buffett, is still an investor, but he created this thing, and he's gotten tons of people aboard to basically give their estates or half their estates away when they pass to maintain our civility and our populace, those who are not that well off. Let me quickly back down to Adelson for a minute. This was the last 24, 48 hours have been terrible for Trump on many fronts. Adelson probably would have helped him get through whatever he's going to have to go through. He's gone. Deutsche Bank has said Trump is no longer a customer, even though he owes $340 million. Signature Bank, no longer a customer. So maybe Trump will say, why don't I just resign and go to Mar-a-Lago and forget about the whole damn thing? He won't. It would be a great blessing for the country if he did. But I think maybe this is going to take the fight out of him because the Russians aren't going to be able to get money to him through the Deutsche. And now that the cat's out of the bag, other financial institutions are not going to get in bed with the Russians.
Let me bring in the stock market here. I know the stock market operates at its own superhighway. Very few exits and entrances onto it. But talk a little bit about interest rates that have been ticking up.
Well, interest rates have really only ticked up a tiny bit. Yeah. The 10-year U.S. Treasury is now at a 1.11 yield, 1.11. It had been as low as a 0.65 yield. And basically, it averages between 3 and 4% historically. So rates, even though they've ticked a little, not really substantially enough to stop anybody from borrowing or taking down money. Also, the thought is out of the Fed Reserve. Some of their governors are talking. They're not going to be proactive in terms of raising rates for a year, 2 years. And they're putting that out to give people confidence that they're going to do their part in this pandemic because, as we know, in solving it, this is not over by any means. Now, getting back, though, to the activity in the stock market, what you have are people who, I think I mentioned this some other time, who can get money for almost nothing and buy stocks. Some have dividends, some don't. So they basically are taking somebody else's money and at a very low rate and speculating. Now, I mentioned in the show, I think last week, that basically a lot of the people who know more about anything than most people in terms of markets and economies, they're very, very concerned about this bubbling kind of effect in the market. And you see the bubbles get created when everybody decides, oh, it's only going up. You need a two sides to things. Those who are minus and those who are plus. And it doesn't even out, but it creates a stability for downticks and for upticks. Well, we don't have that now. Everybody's bullish, and that's a bad sign. And the point is, the pandemic, when we solve it or get it under control, will be very helpful in getting the economy back on track. However, these stocks now are discounting getting back. You know, many of them are selling at 20 to 40 times earnings versus traditional 10 to 15 times earnings. So this is a danger zone. I hope you've been taking profits, and now I think it's really getting. I saw it a couple of trading days ago. People are beginning to take their profits now a little more aggressively in the high tech, those stocks that have been leading the parade. So it's a time to be careful. Don't lose sight of the reality. These markets go down as well as up.
It's an interesting time we're living in, Jim, and I guess I'll say this to you: we'll see what happens by the next time we speak next Tuesday.
Hey, wait a minute! I thought you were going to put this on pause for a week. You said you had the power to do that. I mean, you got all these wins for the Giants.
Yeah, I wish I had the power.
Yeah, you got a lot of power.
All right, Jim.
Okay.
Take care.
Let's wrap it. Love everybody. Goodbye.
Jim Lynch, and Cover Your Assets this morning here on Robin Hood Radio. The opinions expressed are those of Jim's and myself, not representing the underwriters, the volunteers, the people who work for Tri-State Public Communications, or Robin Hood Radio, or CATV 6 and CATV 252.